Welcome to Sales Development Secrets. I'm Steve Error here. I'm excited for our conversation today. Cole, you and I had a fun conversation as two Midwest guys. It was kind of nice, just kind of lay it out there.
A real
And
barn burner.
that's right. We're not the most exciting in the world, but you know what? We'll say it how we see it, and sometimes that leads to something that's a little more exciting. So, Cole, I'll kind of let you introduce yourself, kind of, where you're from, what you're doing, and yeah.
Sure. My name's Cole Goebel. I'm director of RevOps for Cyber Advisors. Cyber Advisors is a national scoped cybersecurity and IT company. So we work with anybody who uses IT could be a prospective client of ours. So um, that kind of thing is what we do. I personally have been VP of sales of a few companies, but I'm big into tools and operations and marketing. So that's what I spend a lot of my time on. And so those are the things that mostly fall under me. Basically, my job is to create interest and leads for my sales department.
So when we spoke, Cole, you did something kind of interesting. Traditionally, I've run uh, sales development teams who, well, when I first started, they were part of sales. It was the sales organization. And then I've run teams where we're part of the marketing organization, and I've always felt like you're caught in the middle, like um, watching mommy and daddy fight, and can't we all get along? And you know,
100%.
you guys in January did something I haven't seen before, but I love. You want to talk about kind of where you position that
Y-
team?
Yeah. So Chief Revenue Officer Matt Kanaski and I sat down and we were trying to figure out between us and the other leaders in our sales org what we were going to do to drive more new business, new logo business. And the issue we were having is that current sales reps didn't have time to prospect and we didn't bring in enough new leads. Well, in this business, in this cybersecurity business, nobody brings in leads. It's funny, nobody does inbound marketing of any kind. So I kind of like, I'm already the owner of this real estate in a lot of cases. But that said, um, still not enough to feed 35 sales reps. So
Hmm.
we got
Hmm.
to dial it up. We have to figure out how we're going to do this. And outbound is the only thing we can figure out to be what we're looking for. So we decided to hire some what we're calling them business development executives. They're BDRs. They're the same SDR BDR team that you'd get for any other thing. So, but they're going to roll up to me rather than rolling up to sales. So the idea being that marketing or revenue, quite honestly, revenue operations is the lead machine.
Hmm.
So it's all about leads and opportunities. It's the same way that now I have a team of business analysts who creates like your quarterly roadmap meetings and things like that. You're basically the meetings you have one on one with the client to talk about what you did last year and this year. I have a team that creates those reports and makes those meetings a deliverable that you'd be proud of to make sure sales reps are actually doing those, having those meetings, and creating new opportunities from within. So the idea being that opportunity is what we're looking for, whether it be new logo opportunity or new opportunity within current logos.
So tell me a little bit, like, I love the term lead machine, but tell me how it actually like runs day to day. Like, how does,
All right.
how's that all work? How's
So
that work?
so right now I've only got two people who do this full time. I've got two people who do this part time, and they are my BDRs, BDEs, whatever we want to call them. I'm going to call them BDRs because that's a term people know. Um, they do inbound and outbound appointment setting right now. So if I get leads inbound, so lead comes in, they call the lead within 5 minutes of receiving it. They set an appointment with the person about whatever they want. We find a sales rep available at the time who's competent to talk about the thing. We marry them together.
Hmm.
Then, when they're not following up with the leads, they're calling outbound and they're trying to connect with people to talk about whatever the thing of the day is. Right now it's managed services, but it could be pen testing or whatever. We have targeted lists that we're looking at for all of these things. And we try to get a hold of somebody, and when they have an appointment available, they set it with a sales rep who's available to talk at about the thing whenever the sales rep's available. And so we
Mhm.
have that rolling right now. I'm using all sorts of tools. Right now, HubSpot has a cool tool we're using called Prospecting Agent that's an AI prospecting email setter. So what it
Mhm.
does is it rather than having my sales reps or my BDRs go through and send emails, this thing sends them on their behalf. So I really have the BDRs mostly doing calls and
Mhm.
the emails are taken care of
Mhm.
because the prospecting agent does them for us. Because quite honestly, it does more research than we do in a faster amount of time than we do, right? It's going to go
Mhm.
look at their LinkedIn page and say, hey, noticed, Sandy, that you just had a promotion to director of IT. Congratulations. Would you like to learn a little bit more about what cyber advisors can do for you? It's like, my people aren't going to do that. They're just going to call the list,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Right,
Send a
right.
canned email.
Yeah.
So the technology is getting really interesting as to how customized we can make these touches and how many we can make in a day that we didn't used to be able to. Because I don't know about you, but when I was coming up, if I made 100 phone calls in a day, I was brain dead at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
worthless to the world and I had to go home and take a nap, right?
Yep.
Like,
And
so
I'd have someone who like, I remember I had I was doing that for 2 or 3 days straight, and I had someone come over, a sales leader said, "Hey, appreciate what you're doing. The effort's great. You can't sustain that. You
right.
can't." And
I
because, I mean,
remember
there's all the notes that go along with it. There's the emails that go along with it, all the other stuff that go it's just not the phone calls, it's everything else.
even worse than that is like then you'll find yourself on the phone with a customer and you won't remember what you called them for or which one you're talking to or you'll just sound bad, right? And
Right.
so the question is, how do you do more without having to like dramatically increase the number of bodies I have doing this? I have, so let's look at today's what, Wednesday, Thursday. On Tuesday, I had one of my BDRs make outbound calls all day to try to reach some managed service clients. They called 1,100 people that day using the auto dialing tool we're using,
Mhm.
right? Can you imagine if you had had that reach in 2004, what you could have done with it? And I mean, now people are programmed not to answer their phones. So really the phone calls are more to nudge you to answer the email I already sent you, right? Like
Right,
it's like
right.
I just need a no or a yes, but I need you to like give it to me for real.
Well,
And
the crucial part is the multi-threading of it, right? The weaving it all
right,
together, referencing, leaving a voicemail, you
LinkedIn
know
message here, voicemail here, email here, whatever. They're all super helpful in that. I like to go on and I like to, if I'm really looking at a top level prospect, I'll go like comment on LinkedIn posts they've made about
Mhm.
things that are relevant to me. So I'll like go read through their timeline of posts they've made and so like but it's the fact that now we can be that strategic with this because you're not just sitting there dialing the phone over and over again and over and over again and over and over again, looking at the clock every 8 minutes waiting for lunch,
Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah. It's fun seeing, what can actually be done now, right? Like, how we can be creative. One thing that you'd mentioned was, also, like, the QBR motion that you guys are
Yeah.
doing. Talk to me about a little bit that, like, what are you doing there?
So so my company is it's pretty large and we're growing real fast. We've acquired 10 companies in the last 2 years. We've gotten really big.
I've been there.
So
I've been
so
there.
what you gotta understand about that is that every time I acquire a company, so we sold primarily Dell products, Microsoft products, whatever. Well, the second we buy another company, now we're also an HP partner. We acquire
And
another company,
expected
now
that
we're a
day to be an
Lenovo.
expert
Yeah.
in
Now I
yeah.
sell Ubiquity. Now I sell whatever new stuff there is, right? So it's like, okay, so now I have like 8,000 products in a SKU catalog, right? So it's like, well, how do
Mhm,
you manage 8,000 products in a SKU catalog? How do we So the trick was that when it was up to a sales rep to kind of make these reports and go to their customer, they would kind of go to a handful of different technicians and say, can you run me this report? And it was taking anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple of months to get all the reports they needed. And by then, the sales rep would either remember to do something with the reports, or they wouldn't have the meeting, or they already had the meeting with only half the reports and it looked really put together. The trick was, okay, if we're going to be a top level managed service company, one of the slogans I like to use all the time is best customer experience possible, right? How am I providing you the best experience possible? Because I'm not your lowest price provider. I'm not the Kmart of cybersecurity, right?
Right.
So if I'm going to do that, we need to do something in kind. So this actually has to be a good meeting with good deliverables in it.
Right.
So we just decided to dedicate a team of 4 people who are going to pull these reports. And they're going to have access to all the tools. There's like 26 different tools we have them with
Mhm.
access to that they have to go into to pull reports for all sorts of God knows what. And then they put these reports together so that people can go have these meetings. But when you're talking about cybersecurity, this is a thing that people are planning a year, two, three in advance for
Mm.
budgeting.
Mhm.
So
Right.
we have to be kind of way out in the front of it. It's like, hey, did you guys know that this server you have fails every 6 days and needs to be rebooted? Like that thing's going to explode soon, and that might be a $30,000 fix, right? Like
You
we
know
should
that you
probably
have 3
budget that.
machines you still have 3 machines running Windows 10, right?
Right.
Like
Or you still have 600 machines running Windows 10 because you're a company with 20,000 employees or something. It's like, hey, dude,
yeah,
you have we have manufacturing companies that run Windows XP still, and that we have to have on their like own firewall so that they don't get hacked constantly because they have like a manufacturing machine that still runs DOS or something
right,
like that,
yeah,
right? And it's like,
yeah,
so it's about having those meetings though, and that's there's a huge the thing is that what we figured out is that these companies are going to spend the money either way, and oftentimes they don't even know we offer the service, so they're not even asking us if we can be their provider for it in a lot of cases. One of the big examples would be like penetration testing.
mhm,
So we do penetration testing. We bought a company that did penetration testing. We sort of did it before, but we bought a company that was their business. Well,
mhm,
we didn't do an excellent job before I worked here of like really modeling that to people. Hey, guess what we also do now? So we got a huge contingent of customers that never really got the message that, hey, I can do that for you too.
mhm,
Hey, I can do
mhm,
this for you. Hey, I can do anything you need. If it plugs into the wall, I can really help you with it.
right,
So what do you need? And so we need to make sure that we're kind of ever present in front of the customers and making sure that we understand the direction. We had a customer tell us last week that they were moving from Phoenix to like Mesa like next week. It's like, oh, who's moving your data center? And I'm like, I don't know. It's
the movers,
like, so you're just gonna unplug everything, plug it back in, and cross your fingers and hope for the best. Like that's the plan. And they're
you're
like,
gonna trust everything
well,
to the
now
same guys who are just gonna, like, come in and move the piano?
right.
Like,
And they're like, well, now that you mention it, maybe we should get. And I'm like, dude, there's a week left before this. Like, what? All right, get some people on a plane. Like, I don't know, and charge them time and a half. Like,
right?
I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. So sometimes the trick to avoiding those situations is being in these meetings and being able to plan ahead.
I love that. Getting to we talked a little bit about, how you're using AI within HubSpot, for example, with
Sure.
some of the emails. In terms of what I'm seeing opportunities, for example, all over the place of leveraging AI in terms of some of the stuff that you're reaching out for and reports you're building. Where are you guys, um, leveraging it in your organization's motion?
So we're first and foremost because I'm marketing, we do all the content, right? So all the
Hmm.
web content, all the blog content, SEO, SEM, all that stuff is going to be created one way or another with AI. We use the internal HubSpot tools to a degree because they're actually pretty good. HubSpot has its own thing it calls Breeze Intelligence, which does a pretty good job and at least SEO optimizes things really well.
Hmm.
So what we'll end up doing is either typing up 500 words and turning it into 1,800 words or something like that within there. I use a tool called Pressmaster.ai that's very cool that like kind of interviews you and then writes a blog. So it
Hmm.
takes like a 20-minute interview and then writes you an 1,800 word blog, but it gives you really, really good content. Like it gives you content as though you spent 2 hours writing it.
Hmm.
So that's some solid content, um, especially for SEO content. It's really good. Or what we're doing now with AI, what they call AEO content, so that we're number one in the search ranking if ChatGPT is going to quote a website, that we're the website. We found out the other day that of our competitors, we have like 20% of the share of AI quoted stuff.
That's
Like,
wow.
yeah, so
Nice.
so somehow we're crushing that. But HubSpot has internal tools for that too now. So
Mhm.
HubSpot's all about finding that spot. And then we're using it for I used to pay SEMrush $600 a month, right, to have keywords and research and all this stuff. And I figured out that, man, Claude can do this for me. And all I have to do is say, hey, Claude, here's the thing I'm trying to sell. Come up with some keywords for me. Okay, I don't like these 8. I like these 12. Make me 200 others that are like them. And then
Mhm.
I can use that for Google Ads, right? Like, and Claude cost me $25 a month, right? Like, so
Right,
I'm
right.
down 600, up 25. I'm like, all right, well, that sounds like a deal to me, you know? Um, Claude, I'm not sure if it's Claude or one of my other tools, literally uses SEMrush as the back end to get that data. Like, I'm like, so I'm paying 25 to get access to SEMrush? Like, that seems pretty slick, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, but
anyways,
I think
yeah,
that
go.
that starts to tee up the next question, which is like there are
Yeah,
all these tools that you can have out there that do some really great stuff. Um, Also, especially now, just to date this a little bit, Anthropic released Fable 5 yesterday.
yeah, saw
Um,
that.
I've had some fun with that already. Um, uh, so it really like where do you guys make the decision of what to build internally and what is okay? This is a solution we need to go out and buy.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the question really comes to how complex is the build? Um, because, for example, we're right now revamping our internal phone setup, right? And because we bought 10 companies, have 10 different phone systems we're trying to like crush together, right?
Mhm,
And we crushed together like 3 of them, but we still got the other 7 kind of hanging out there with call forwarding to places and stuff. We have to go through and fix that. Well, once we pick a horse, we have to figure out what we're going to do with that. And honestly, I'm not going to invent a UCAS device, right? There's enough things out there that'll plug in. We're just going to find one we like, okay, and we're going to figure out how to use it.
mhm,
On the flip side, though, I have we use, because we're in cybersecurity and IT, we use what's called a PSA. And honestly, I don't even know what that stands for. But the PSA is the tool we use to control, like to remote access things like your servers and make sure they're healthy, right?
mhm,
Um, our PSA system does not connect to HubSpot natively, or it does, but very poorly. So I just built an integration using Lovable that does it,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because HubSpot has a million endpoints and so does the PSA. So it's like, well, we'll just build our own.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if all it's doing is API calls back and forth, and basically this field populates this field, that's not rocket science to do, right? It's
Right,
also
right.
not rocket science to maintain, even if I'm gone, right? Even if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody else could figure out how that works. It's not rocket science. So
Right.
things like that we're just building because, hey, I'd rather have the one that works for me than have the one and try to spend a year making it work.
So the real simple point solutions where you're like, "All right, let's not just like we can build this, but we can build this rather than the way that everybody would want to use this. Let's build this the way that cyber advisors would use this tool,
And
tailored to that."
exactly. One of the big things that we deal with in our industry is obviously data security. Well, you know what I don't want to have saved in 4 different places on the internet is all of your server IP addresses for your company, not my company, your company.
Right, right.
We have a data breach. How many companies do I now have to call and say, hey, our HubSpot got breached? Guess what? Now, I don't know that HubSpot's ever even been breached, but I don't want that problem in case it does, right?
Right.
That's just, that's a hassle I don't need. So we
Mhm.
keep only contact data in HubSpot, and we keep PSA data in PSA, and we let them. There's a certain marriage of the two along the way that makes life pretty easy, but we can make those decisions in a more static way.
Talk to me a little bit about, sales tools in general. Like what are the I mean, we've talked HubSpot, we've talked about some of the things you're using in marketing. What are those tools now?
Yeah,
And maybe what are you using that like kind of surprise you from way things were back in my day when we're making
back
$100 a
in
day,
back in the olden
put
days, right?
pushing buttons
Uh,
on a phone.
HubSpot, I'm always gonna preach HubSpot because for the money, you can't get a better tool, right? It
Hmm.
does so many things all at once within that it's hard to beat, and it's customizable to the point where I'm the administrator for it. We have 400 people who work here. I don't need anybody else to help with it yet, and there's 400 people who work here.
Right.
Salesforce in that same boat, there would be 5 guys who got paid the same amount I did and didn't do any of the other stuff I do. They just did Salesforce administration, right?
Right.
So that being said, past HubSpot, we are using integrations from. I'm using ZoomInfo right now. We evaluated Apollo. ZoomInfo came and they gave us a super competitive bid after we told them we were evaluating Apollo. They gave us the super competitive bid. Um, but hey, ZoomInfo is great. They're the
Hmm.
they're the big gorilla on that block
Sure.
for data integration. So that's where I'm pulling lists from and doing that type of stuff. But Concert with a Koncert, is our auto dialer platform, and that thing is killer. If you were
Hmm.
wondering which one to get into, that's your Huckleberry right there. Whether you're
Hmm.
using Salesforce, HubSpot, anything, it hooks to most of your major platforms. It is really great. It's the parallel dialer, dials all four numbers at once, right? Like you got 700 numbers you want to dial, it dials four at a time. It hangs up on any phone tree it reaches because it knows it's not even worth its time. Leaves a voicemail you've pre recorded anywhere that you hit voicemails, and only basically beeps in your ear if they have somebody on the line for you.
Oh, nice.
It is
Nice.
that simple. So you just sit there and watch it. So I have
Hmm.
these BDRs and they're sitting there, and it's their job to just watch this thing for when somebody picks the phone up.
Hmm.
And so when somebody picks the phone up, they try to get them to buy something. So these guys are doing now in 3 hours what would have taken me a week and a half to do, right?
Right. Right.
Unparalleled amount of work that they get done in the same amount of, because you and I are talking 100 calls a day was a death march
Sure.
in 2004 or whatever year
Oh,
that
dude,
was, right?
if you did 100 dials a day manually, and I'm talking also we're manually
Like
dialing.
manual.
We're not using like SalesLoft or even Outreach or InsideSales.com back in the day. It's literally like there's a phone number in the spreadsheet. Push the
There's a phone on my desk.
Yes.
I'm typing the number in.
I have
It's
my
ringing.
Plantronics headset, you know.
That was the good. You were lucky if you had the Plantronics
Oh
headset
yeah. Yeah.
because we had the cheap like Chinese headset, the one with the big foam thing at the end of
Yeah.
the yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember one job I had. They used to track how many calls you made, but we had like a PBX system. It would only track them if you were on the phone for 45 seconds that call. Well,
Mhm.
if you left a quick voicemail, you weren't on the phone for 45 seconds. So you'd literally sit there and time yourself to make sure you left a voicemail long enough to hit 45 seconds because you wanted credit for every one of those dumb calls you made.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, somebody was going to come knock on your door the next day and be like, hey, you only made 44 calls yesterday. Be like, man, I dialed 78 calls. They're like, well, I only see 44.
Right.
You don't
Right.
want to
Yep.
have that argument. Now we're talking Concert, 1,100 calls in a day in 3 4 hours, right?
Right.
No
Yeah.
duplicate calls, no anything weird. It records all after each call that you actually answer, or each call that receives some sort of result. There is a call disposition that gets logged into HubSpot. If the call's recorded, it records into HubSpot. So I have the recording available to me and the
Mhm.
transcription. If they're not in a recordable area, it won't. But if they are, then we
Sure.
have that available. And so, one of the things this empowers my sales reps to do then is okay, I set you a meeting, go listen to the phone call, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to have to take 10 minutes worth of notes or evaluate this after this for go read the transcript. The transcript's going to tell you what they want or how interested they are, what they want to talk about so that you're loaded for the meeting, right? I
Mhm,
can just
mhm.
go at Brandon in HubSpot and say, read this transcription. I set this meeting for you,
Yeah.
right? Like,
So there's no
how
reason
cool.
an AE shouldn't be fully prepped for the meeting.
If they're not prepped, it's their fault,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
fair enough. There'll be enough of them that aren't, but that's their fault. So,
Right.
um, one of the things that I also try to stress is that, hey, because we're the lead machine, we're not the sales machine, we're the lead machine. Right. One of the things that,
Mhm.
especially if I have BDRs who used to be in sales, they like to try to pre qualify the people and they try to, it's like, no, 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 we're doing business development. The colander is somewhere else. Right. Like,
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
only need to, we're the ones who bring people in. Somebody else decides whether or not they really need what we have. Let's just get as many appointments set as we can. If they have to have 4 appointments to get a sale, that's fine. We can work on that after we have a steady stream of appointments working, right? Like
Right, right.
that's just part of this is not it long term. This is it's got to be. Don't worry about it. Set the appointment if there's any question in your mind, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I kind of coming up to time here. I want to, you and I have been doing this for a little bit, at least 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Uh,
long
kind
enough
of
that I had hair when I started.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, mine didn't have gray in it when I started.
Yeah, fair.
Um, what what things have really changed that have gotten you excited over since you started, and then kind of as looking forward, and maybe this is a more crucial question because we kind of talked about that, the one already, but what do you see changing? How do you see it adjusting over the next, 2, 3 years?
Well, so AI adoption is obviously huge, right? The question is, what do I need a person to do, and what can I automate? The question is anything that's replicable needs automation, right? Because what I want to do is not to replace the people I have with robots, but to take the people I have and be able to do 5 times more work without hiring more people. Because if I can buy a tool that costs me $8,000 a year instead of hiring 3 more people that cost 70, 80, $90,000 a year to do BDR, then wow, I sure have a lot more money to pay my BDRs who set appointments,
Hmm.
right? I've got lots more space for this. So automation is super important. And anytime you find a replicable task, if you're not working on automating it, you're missing a point, right?
Hmm.
Now, that being said, the other thing I like about this is that it's becomes sales has always been a numbers game, and so is business development. It's always been a numbers game. But now it's so much more scientific than it used to be. It used to be just make more calls, you'll sell more stuff.
Sure.
But now it's about, okay, what did you say when you were on that call? How long was that call? Who was the person we talked to? Who made that call? Why is Sandy successful, but Sarah isn't? Right? Like, let's start looking at the actual trail so you can use these call recordings and things like that to say, hey, the person who's talking about value is getting more appointments set than the person who's talking about whatever else, Fortinet or whatever the thing is, right?
Sure.
So let's make sure we're talking about this, not this, when we're talking to this type of customer. We can use all this data to really help shape. And instead of having to hire now a person who makes $100,000 a year to start as a BD because they have industry experience, I can hire sales BDRs off the street and I can say, hey, 22-year-old just out of college, you ready to get started? Well, if you do exactly the things that we'll show you, they are successful, right?
Yeah.
I
Right. Right.
love giving that opportunity to people who are entry level and just saying, hey, I'd rather give this to you. I'd rather let that person go to a company that thinks they need it. I'd rather you come here and learn how we do it because the thing we do is successful.
Yeah. No, uh, uh, that's when they're able to do that, that's showing such trust too, and they're trusting
Yeah.
you, and they're gaining, your trust as they do that, and like that's when you see careers on their side really start to blossom because you've got a method that works.
Well,
Why would you
and
advise them to do something that doesn't?
Well, and the thing was that I was kind of one of those guys who was on the outs when I was starting out, right? When I was young, I didn't go to college. I was just a sales guy, right? And so
Mhm.
I had trouble sometimes getting bigger corporations to notice me and stuff like that. They'd go with somebody who had the 4-year degree. They'd go with whatever. Okay, but at the end of the day, I like to go out. I remember I gave my business card once to somebody who was like selling me a sport coat at a store because he was a good enough salesman. I was like, "Hey, if you ever like want a job where you don't work weekends, just call me. Like I'll find space for you." Right? It's like there's no better spot than sales or business development to pull yourself up out of being in a thankless job to one where you can really reap the rewards yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Best BDRs, 2 of the best BDRs I ever hired. One, uh, was a construction worker,
Oh,
and
sweet.
but, what I knew right off the bat, because 'cause he'd been in construction for a while, the guy knew how to work,
Yeah.
and then the conversation was about, okay, does he have the horsepower going on in his brain to do the job,
Right.
right? Because I knew he knew how to work. That I didn't need to figure that out in the interview. The next one, and he awesome. I had him on my team. He was a leader, and then he went on to the sales team. The next one, she had worked in the mall at Victoria's Secret for like
Oh
15
yeah.
years, and she was really good at talking to people and listening and being empathetic. She wanted to This is the reason she wanted to switch. She wanted to be home at night with her kids, and working retail in a mall, that's
Right.
not a thing. She knew how to work hard, she knew how to work long hours, she knew how to talk to people. I needed to evaluate at that point, does she have the technical chops?
Sure. I had somebody I hired. So I worked at this place that was it was a smaller company that manufactured. Uh, it was a print machine. They had printing stuff, but I just needed somebody to make calls. And at this time, the place was in a small town, and the only place you could get breakfast in this town anywhere near my office was at a Burger King.
Mhm.
And so I get breakfast at Burger King at least 2 days a week because I forget to eat before I leave my house and leave my house in a hurry.
Sure.
And she's the manager of the Burger King. And one day, like I'm pulling into the Burger King to go to the drive-through. Before I hit the drive-through, I can see she's outside just smoking heaters and crying. And I like walked up to her. I was like, "Are you okay?" And she like starts unloading on me on how this place sucks. And I make 50 grand a year, and I work nights and weekends, and no one pay, I like unpaid overtime and all this stuff. I was like, "Y- you know, I have like real job openings that are like 9 blocks this way for people who just make phone calls all day and they only work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Like, do you want to do that? It starts at more than you make. Like,
Mhm, mhm.
come work for me. We'll see if it works out. But the worst case, you what? Go back to the Burger King. Best case, this is and she still works there. She's like the lead there now. And
Yeah.
it's like, these people are everywhere, and all they need is somebody to recognize the opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Cole, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the
Yeah.
conversation today. If people have questions about some of the stuff you're doing, is LinkedIn the best way to reach out?
LinkedIn is a great way to find us. If you want cybersecurity, go to cyberadvisors.com. If you want to talk about cybersecurity, I am not your guy. If you want to talk about RevOps, I am 100% your guy. If you want to talk about sales tools or marketing or what we're up to, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you make your own, if you roast your own coffee, I roast my own coffee, so I'm always up for some tips and tricks there too. So
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks, Cole. I appreciate it. And to everybody, thanks. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.
thank you.